I find his lack of balance disturbing.
It's all that data, bro. With SLT mega deals, he's got double data for the next 2 months.
Making headlines at first at 9. Northern strife. Number of people stricken by inclement weather breaches 100,000 in 24 hours. Insidious or misunderstood? TNA MP Sumandiran's comments draw a torrent of criticism.
His mission is to bring in a new constitution that will pave way achieving the Elam dream that the Prabhakaran couldn't achieve.
And again, Mr. Sumandiran is appealing to the Western powers and the embassies to have the opposition leadership be given to the TNA.
Tea brokers' silver lining. As rupee tumbles, new report on the tea industry paints a rosy picture for the new year ahead. Self-destruction. Sri Lankan batting implode on day 2 of the second test with New Zealand. Face to face. China and the United States to have one-on-one consultations over trade in January.
මේ උත්සව සමයේ ස්මාර්ට් ඇන්ඩ්‍රොයිඩ් තාක්ෂණයෙන් එන සිංගර් විස්ටා TV එකක් මිලදී ගන්නා ඔබට හිත පිරෙන්න වාසි රැසක් ඕනෑම සිංගර් ප්‍රදර්ශනාගාරයකින්.
Good evening. I am Indivari Amuatha. Well, President Maithripala Sirisena intends to follow through his pledge to eradicate the menace of drug from Sri Lanka as he directs relevant authorities to get tough with raids related to illegal drug racketeering. Issuing a media communique, the President's media unit said that the head of state is also mulling over giving additional powers to the police so the duty could be performed more efficiently. The head of state incorporated the police department to the Ministry of Defence, which fell under his purview 2 months ago. The communique says that since the move, a record haul of 280 kilograms of heroin was seized in the period of 2 months during special raids on illegal drugs sanctioned by the head of state. It goes on to say that only 184.6 kilograms was seized in the period of 10 months prior to the police being taken under the Ministry of Defence. The communique concluded that additional powers will be granted to police to carry out necessary action efficiently, and the legal drafts relating to them are being compiled under the President's instructions. And the convener of the Patriotic Professionals Forum, Dr. Nalaka Gudaheva, alleges that TNA parliamentarian M.A. Sumantiran is on a mission to weaken the central government and parliament. Speaking at a media briefing organised by the movement Vyatmaga in Colombo today, he said that the parliamentarian is trying to accomplish his goal by bringing a new constitution to pave the way for strengthening of provincial councils and eventually achieve the Elam dream.
So yesterday, Mr. Sumandiran of TNA making a statement that the Tamil population in this country do not want the former President Mahinda Rajapaksa ever as Prime Minister of this country. He's not only making such statements, today we saw they're going to courts against the opposition leadership of Mahinda Rajapaksa. Why are they against this Sinhalese leader? To understand that, we need to understand who is Mr. Sumandiran. He's on a mission. His mission is to weaken the central government. His mission is to weaken the parliament. His mission is to bring in a new constitution that will pave way for the strengthening of provincial councils, federalism, and eventually achieving the Elam dream that the Prabhakaran couldn't achieve. For the last 4 years, Mr. Sumandiran and his clan are working on that. And Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe and the group are supportive of that. Everything that happened during the last 4 years was only for this purpose. By 25th of October this year, they were almost there. They had the control of 2/3 of MPs in the parliament. They were to bring the new constitution and pass it. But unfortunately for them, on the 26th October 2018, President Sirisena and Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa got together and turned tables. As a result of that, they lost the two-thirds in the parliament. It is not to just remove Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa from opposition leadership, but it is also to remove more than 50 MPs of the joint opposition from the parliament. By doing so, they can get back to two-thirds majority that once they command in the parliament. By doing so, they can bring back the constitution.
Dr. Godaheva also speculated that a conspiracy is at play which is orchestrated by a foreign hand while criticizing the conduct of the big hitters of the Tamil National Alliance over instigation of racial hatred.
Continuously, one after another, resolutions were passed in Geneva. And then the US government, John Kerry, made a statement that is written saying that they spent US $680 million to change regimes in Nigeria, Burma and Sri Lanka. It is very clear that they actively participated in the regime change. So it is the same thing that is continued for the last 4 years. Everything that happened, what is Mr. Sumandaran trying to do? What is Mr. Sambandhan trying to do? They are trying to create a situation where these races can't live in harmony anymore. Isn't it being an enemy of nation? I think that is the direction that we see. We don't want to call it like that.
The governor of the Western Province, Hemakumar Nanayakkara, today revealed that President Maithripala Sirisena is not in agreement with the 20th Amendment to the Constitution, which is championed by the Janatha Vimukthi Peramuna. Addressing a media briefing in Colombo, Nanayakkara was critical of importing consumables which can be easily manufactured within the country. He highlighted that protectionism within the country's open economy as the way forward for Sri Lanka.
In this country, we import vegetables to the tune of 1 billion rupees a year. We import all the things that most of the things that we can grow here. Then why should we have a Ministry of Agriculture? We take loans and we buy all consumables. We produce best of clothing for export. But we import in bulk some shoe manufacturing companies in Sri Lanka. They import shoes and slippers from China and India, and they put the local brand and put to the market. Can we be successful in this country? Can we reform our economy at this rate? No. We have to produce. The government should know this. We have to have the open economy with a regulatory mechanism called protectionism. Now, after we started these independent commissions, through the commission only these appointments done with the amendment that we had, 19th Amendment. Therefore, the right to appoint falls into the hands of that members of that commission. And I do not say that they have done the right thing. I'm not qualified to say that. But yet, the responsibility of appointing judges lies in the hands of the members of the Constitutional Council.
What's the president's stance on the 20th Amendment?
President is not in agreement with the 20th Amendment. It was brought by the JVP. But the people at grassroots levels of the JVP, they are very much disturbed. The top notchers of the JVP, we know how many people went for secret discussions with some of the international non-governmental organization top notchers. Kumar Gunratnam, in his Peratugami Paksha, has taken the bigger slice of the JVP with them. But the power block of all universities lies in the hands of Kumar Gunratnam, not with Andhra Kumara Dissanayaka. They hasten the process, becoming more and more weaker by bringing in the 20th Amendment. So JVP is heading for a very sad destination.
On the question of the opposition leadership in Parliament, UPFA MP Taraka Balasuriya today accused the Tamil National Alliance MP M.A. Sumandaran of trying to deprive Mahinda Rajapaksa of his rightful position as the opposition leader in Parliament. Balasuriya argued that the leader of the TNA, R. Sambandhan, during his tenure as the opposition leader, failed to address issues faced by all ethnic communities in the country as a whole, limiting himself to the north and east.
Mr. Sumandiran, who has been talking about five-star democracy and who has been talking about the rights of his people, are now trying to deprive the rights of the Mahinda Rajapaksa fraction by taking away the leader of the opposition. How can 15 members claim the position of the opposition leader when we had 54 MPs? Although rightfully the opposition leadership should have fallen on our hands, it was deprived by the speaker. When we had 70 members acting in the role of the opposition, it was deprived from us and then given to the Tamil National Congress. Now we have 100 MPs working in the opposition, and again Mr. Sumandiran is appealing to the Western powers and the embassies to have the opposition leadership be given to the TNA. Mr. Sambandhan, acting as the leader of the opposition, did not talk on behalf of the people of Sri Lanka. He only spoke on behalf of the people of North and East. So in such circumstances, it seems rather arrogant of him to ask for the leader of the opposition and to continue in that role when the majority of the country does not want Mr. Sambandhan to continue in the role of the opposition. We know that when the Bond Commission was presented to Parliament, it was Mr. Sumandiran who came forward and said that there is no English version, so we should put off the debate indefinitely. Since that day, the Bond Commission report has not been taken to debate. We already know that Mr. Sumandiran and the TNA has been instrumental in removing Mr. Swaminathan from the cabinet. So we not only see that Mr. Sumandiran interfering into internal matters of parties, but also in trying to instigate communal hatred by depriving the right people who represents majority of the people as members of the opposition their due place as the leader of the opposition.
The Department of Meteorology today issued warnings of severe thunderstorm and heavy rainfall for the provinces of Central, Sabaragamuwa, Southern and Western for the next 24 hours. But it is the Northern province which is making headlines for all the wrong reasons, as the number of people affected by the inclement weather, which has been plaguing the region for nearly a week, breached 100,000 in 24 hours. In view of the desperate situation in the north, Manusad Derana flood relief program launched by TV Derana continued its relief efforts today as well. Donors from all across the island arrived at our head office in Colombo to hand over relief aid to be distributed to the much needed areas in the northern province.
People belonging to the 5 districts of Jaffna, Kilinochchi, Mullaitivu, Mannar and Vavuniya in the northern province have been feeling the ill effects of inclement weather, which they have been plagued with since the 21st of December. Several teams from TV Derana have been reporting on the ground regarding the developments for the past few days. 5,744 persons from 1,760 families are temporarily housed in 19 safety shelters.
ඉන්ද තැනක් නෑ ළමයි දෙන්නෙක් තියාගෙන ඉන්නවා අම්මත් නෑ යාට මැරිලා ළමයිගේ පොත් බෑග් ස්කෝලේ බඩු කොහොම වතුරේ ගියා හරක් කුකුල්ලු ඔක්කොම ටික වතුරේ ගියා
எங்கட பாடசாலை உபகரணம் எல்லாம் வெள்ளத்தால அழிஞ்சு போயிட்டது எல்லாமே தண்ணிக்குள்ள நனைஞ்சு போயிட்டது அதுக்காக எங்கட கற்றல் உபகரணங்கள் எங்களுக்கு தந்துதவுமாறு எங்களை கேட்டுக்கொள்றோம்.
Meanwhile, in Mullaitivu, 4,889 persons belonging to 1,566 families are currently being housed in 11 safety shelters. The Disaster Management Centre advises residents of low-lying areas of the Odusudan Muttuainkattu tank to be vigilant, as all spill gates of the tank are fully opened following heavy rains. With the help of a number of donors who didn't forget their fellow brothers and sisters in the north, we at TV Derana were able to distribute relief aid via our Manusad Derana flood relief program today. 57th Division of the Sri Lanka Army headed the relief program in Kilinochchi. I would like to thank TV Derana and the team of Manusad Derana. There are 4 subdivisions in the 57th Division. All of our officers in the division put their maximum effort to provide relief to the affected people in the Kilinochchi district. A special discussion was held with the participation of Governor of the Northern Province, Sri Lanka Army and other relevant government officials on rebuilding lives in the north. The discussion took place at the Kandavalai College in Kilinochchi today. The Tamils today witnessed and realised who are actually there with them in time of need. Whatever said and done, I believe that the intervention of the army in the north is a blessing for the discriminated and those who are in pain. The funds that will come to the north will increase in the near future. Manusat Derana itself will bring in most relief items. During a special media briefing in Colombo, meanwhile, Minister of Home Affairs assured that all relief efforts will be concluded within a period of 3 months. We held discussions with all relevant parties this morning regarding normalizing people's lives in the northern province within the next 3 months. We have also introduced an emergency hotline 1902. Deputy Director of the Disaster Management Centre, Pradeep Kodipilli, meanwhile, spoke to First at 9 regarding the current situation in the north.
More than 10,000 people still being accommodated in safe evacuation centres, and 10,000 rupees were given to the people who were affected with their particular houses partially and fully. The houses will be assessed, then they will be given the compensations up to 2.5 million as maximum, and people are still being requested, if any queries, they can call via 117 call centre number in any language. So still the Met Department is expecting some rain in those areas. The rain could be expected in the central and the western and some provinces as well. People are advised to vigilant with the sudden strong winds and lightning damages.
Meanwhile, kind-hearted donors from across the country brought relief items to the head office of TV Derana in support of the Manusat Derana flood relief program today as well.
මහජනතාව විශ්වාසයක් කරනවා.
අපේම සහෝදරයෝ කට්ටියක් මෙහෙම අස්සරණ වෙලාදී අපි අයට උදව් කරන්න ඕනේ.
අපි දෙමළ සිංහල කියලා ભેදයක් නැතුව සියලු දෙනාටම උපකාර කරන මනුස්සත් දෙරණත් එක්ක එකතු වෙලා යම්කිසි ආධාරයක් කරන්න ඕනේ කියලා
අසරණ වෙලා ඉන්නේ අපේම ජනතාව. ඒ නිසා හිතුවා මේ කාර්යය කරන්නයි කියලා.
Meanwhile, Aralia Rice Mill, based in Polonnaruwa, handed over 5 metric tons of rice to Manusat Derana today to be distributed to the affected in the north. We realized that TV Derana is the best media organization which can take our relief items to the public after seeing what Manusat Derana has done before. That's why we joined with TV Derana to lend our helping hand to our brothers and sisters in the north. The Global Sri Lankan Forum also came forward to hand over monetary funds to the Manusat Derana flood relief program. This is real reconciliation. We would like to extend our gratitude to Manusat Derana. You too have the opportunity to help our brothers and sisters in the north. You can bring us your relief aid to the TV Derana head office at number 320 TB Jayamawatha, Colombo 10, or inform us as to how you can help those in need via mobile number 078 3838 383.
The government's news portal today reported that Sri Lanka voted in favour of a resolution on the moratorium on the use of the death penalty during the 73rd United Nations General Assembly plenary sessions last week. This move by the government comes in a backdrop where the President Maithripala Sirisena in July vehemently emphasised on implementing the death penalty on the convicted drug dealers who continue drug trafficking from within prisons.
The government's news portal reports that last week, Sri Lanka voted in favour of a resolution on the moratorium on the use of the death penalty during the 73rd United Nations General Assembly plenary sessions. According to the article, the UN General Assembly adopted the draft resolution on the December 17th by a recorded vote of 121 in favour to 35 against, with 32 abstentions, and this resolution was proposed by Brazil on behalf of an inter-regional task force of member states and co-sponsored by 83 states. It further reads that the UN in a statement said that, quote, it called on all states to respect international standards on the rights of those facing the death penalty and ensure that the practice is not applied on the basis of discriminatory laws or as a result of discriminatory or arbitrary application of the law, unquote. Interestingly, this move by Sri Lanka to endorse the moratorium on the use of death penalty comes into effect in a backdrop where President Maithripala Sirisena emphasised the necessity to implement the death sentence on the convicted drug dealers who continued drug trafficking in the country from within prisons. During yesterday's cabinet meeting, we discussed about drugs. With the experience of the last few years, we know that a lot of drug traffickers are currently in jail under death penalty. However, However, some of them, even being inside jail, continue to engage in trafficking. Therefore, I suggested the cabinet, although there could be different arguments under Buddhism, to sign the death penalty to such traffickers. I think it won't be a sinful deed, and I informed my decision to put my signature to impose death penalty on such criminals. We see this situation can't be cured without proper punishments. The president later appointed a committee to look into that proposal. However, president's insistence on the decision of imposing the death penalty was met with human rights entities in the country, including Amnesty International in Sri Lanka, who issuing a statement said, quote, Sri Lanka must pull back from any plans to implement the death penalty and preserve its long-standing positive record on shunning this cruel and irreversible punishment, unquote. It also emphasized, quote, the government must immediately halt plans to carry out any execution, commute all death sentences, and establish an official moratorium on the implementation of the death penalty as a first step towards its full abolition, unquote. In the meantime, the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, too, through a letter to the president, urged him to do away with the decision to re-implement capital punishment and instead implement a series of strong and long-term policies, including strengthening of institutions and procedures aimed at addressing serious crimes, including drug trafficking.
We have business news coming up after this short commercial break. To stay with us on Other Derana 24/7.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
The Sri Lankan rupee continued its depreciating trend, and a new report by the tea brokering firm Forbes and Walkers suggested that continued depreciation of the Sri Lankan rupee will improve one of the country's main foreign exchange earners, Ceylon Tea. In its report, Tea Industries' performance in 2018 and prospects for 2019, it also says that Colombo auction prices have shown a significant appreciation in the fourth quarter on the third quarter, particularly in respect of leafy orthodox teas. The report highlights the government's decision to liberalize the use of weedicide containing glyphosate as a welcome move, as it enables plantations to achieve their full potential.
Tea brokers Forbes and Walker releasing its report Tea Industries' Performance in 2018 and Prospects for 2019 says that the Sri Lankan government's decision to lift the ban on the use of glyphosate is likely to give much relief to the producers and in particular to large-scale plantations which would be able to carry out the required agricultural practices to achieve the full potential of plantations next year. It adds that the government's decision to allow more liberal policy on fertilizer should contribute favourably, but aging tea bushes and low productivity levels would be a downside. The report warns that India, with its aged plantations, is unlikely to show any significant improvement in its output, while on the other hand, Kenya, with its steady growth in production in the past several years, is poised to achieve 500 million kilograms this year and is likely to play a significant role when assessing the total global supply situation. It goes on to say that demand growth in China and India, considering the magnitude of these two markets, is likely to influence prices and consumption is expected to outstrip production. USA too could be singled out as a fast-growing market, particularly for instant tea and iced tea segments, while imports from Sri Lanka to the US have shown quite a significant growth in 2018. Among other factors highlighted in the report is the Colombo tea auction prices, which it says have shown a significant appreciation in the fourth quarter on the third quarter, particularly in the respect of leafy orthodox teas. It identifies the variation in exchange rates as an important factor that might influence tea prices, saying that if Sri Lankan rupee's depreciation pattern persists, it would help Colombo auction prices in rupee terms. The report also pointed to improved demand from Iran following the recent indications that tea would not be featured on the list of items attracting US import sanctions.
3 months ago, it looked as if the global oil market would be undersupplied through the Northern Hemisphere winter as US sanctions removed large volumes of Iranian crude. But analysts now warn of fears of a bear market in place. Although oil prices reached multi-year highs in early October, they are now approaching their lowest levels in 18 months. Both crude oil benchmarks have lost more than a third of their volume and value since the beginning of October and are headed for losses of more than 20% in 2018. Prices today fell after rebounding 8% in the previous session as worries over a glut in crude supply and concerns over a faltering global economy pressured prices over a stock market rally offered support. Brent crude oil dropped $1.67 a barrel to a low of $52.80 before recovering to around $53.45. Light crude oil slipped $1.30 to $44.92. Still in international business news, China and the United States have made plans for face-to-face consultations over trade in January as the world's two biggest economies advanced efforts to resolve a months-long trade war. US and Chinese officials have spoken by phone in recent weeks, but a meeting next month would be the first in-person talks since US President Donald Trump met his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping in Buenos Aires on the 1st of December. Trump and Xi agreed to stop escalating tit-for-tat tariffs that have disrupted the flow of hundreds of billions of dollars of goods between the two nations. Yesterday, China unveiled the draft of a foreign investment law for public consultation. In it, China has proposed a ban on forced technology transfer and legal government interference in foreign business operations practices that have come under the spotlight during the trade war. While China has frequently denied accusations of engaging in such practices, it has pledged to improve market access for foreign investors and better protect their rights in the face of growing complaints and reduced foreign investment. And as we said, a global equity rally fueled by a dramatic surge on Wall Street ran out of steam today, setting U.S. shares up for a weak opening after a fall in Chinese industrial profits offered a reminder of the pressure on the world economy. Still, world stocks stayed off near two-year lows, lifted by yesterday's 1,000-point-plus surge on the U.S. Dow Jones Index, which was triggered partly by the strongest holiday sales in years. Stocks in Asia and Europe initially took their cue from this rally, pushing the MSCI World Index, which tracks shares in 47 countries, 0.4% higher. But the gains halved as a pan-European equity index fell 1.1% after a strong open and export-reliant German shares lost 2%. Equity futures for the Dow Jones Index fell 1.15%, while Nasdaq and S&P 500 appeared set for even weaker openings. While Japanese and Australian shares in the meantime rose strongly, markets in mainland China as well as Hong Kong closed 0.4% weaker after data showed earnings at China's industrial firms dropping in November for the first time in nearly 3 years. And here in Colombo, the all share price index ended 0.02% weaker at 6,018.19 today, with turnover registering just 338 million rupees, less than half of this year's daily average of 840 million. Foreigners were net sellers of 6.4 million rupees of stocks, and they have been net sellers of 13.3 million rupees since the end of October. Between the October 25th and December 19th period, the bond market in the meantime has seen outflows of about 56.7 billion rupees, while 5-year government bond yields have risen 35 basis points since the end of October. We have Nisansala Kurupumudali from First Capital Holdings with a brief report now.
The bond market witnessed moderate volumes as market participants remain on the sideline. In the midst of continuous foreign selling, short-term maturities 15-12-21 changed hands at intraday high of 1160, while mid-tenor maturities 15-5-23 traded 1170 and 1-8-25 traded intraday high of 1185. Bourse continued the negative sentiment for the second consecutive day, dragged down by big cap John Keels and RCD. Turnover and volumes dipped compared to the previous day, while 57% of turnover is derived from crossings in selling coinsurance. A net foreign outflow was witnessed amidst low foreign participation.
And the Sri Lankan rupee fell to a record low against the dollar today amid pressure from capital outflows. The rupee ended at 183.55 cents against the US dollar, while the rupee slid 18.7% so far this year. With that, here's a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other major currencies across the world.
Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
In your top news overseas, Indonesian authorities are working to upgrade their disaster warning system after a deadly tsunami caught the locals unprepared on Saturday. The tsunami came without warning and nobody had a clue that a 20-meter high wave was heading towards the town of Banten in West Java. The main cause was the eruption of Anak Krakatau, a volcano that emerged just less than 100 years ago.
The alert level for Indonesia's Anak Krakatau volcano has been raised to the second highest level possible after a series of eruptions. All flights around the volcano have been rerouted and a 5-kilometer exclusion zone has also been imposed. Last Saturday, the volcano triggered a tsunami which killed hundreds. As of yesterday, at least 430 people had lost their lives, leaving 1,495 injured and 159 others missing. It has also displaced 21,991 residents and damaged nearly 1,000 houses in affected areas. Locals say that as rumblings and eruptions are common occurrences, the recent eruption did not strike them as suspicious. The last eruption of Krakatau was at exactly the same spot in 1883, 135 years ago. This time, the tsunami hit after the eruption of the Anak Krakatau volcano triggered underwater landslides, leading to a sudden rise of the sea level.
We're still trying to figure out what caused this new phenomena. The activity of Krakatau itself did not cause a landslide. We believe it is due to many factors. At the time the landslide took place, there were also heavy rain and volcanic tremors. All of those combined resulted in this powerful underwater landslide that caused the tsunami.
This new phenomenon is entirely different to the Indian Ocean tsunami that washed over many Asian countries, including Sri Lanka, in 2004. Those waves were triggered by a magnitude 9 earthquake. Now experts are trying to understand what happened beneath the sea surface as that volcano was erupting on Saturday.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Well, the Christmas spirit across the world is still warm and hearty. So before we go tonight, we'd like to share with you how Christmas lovers all over the globe are celebrating the festive season. Enjoy these visuals. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.